welcome to Paradigms at paradigms.life, the radio show and podcast that brings you inspiring people with visions of a viable future for life on Earth that includes humans. Hi, I'm Baruch, host of Paradigms. Thanks for tuning in. We've got a really interesting guest in this episode. He's a sea captain and CEO of Sea Shepherd Global, and he's going to tell us all about the organization and what they do. The oceans are in dire straits, folks, and that means life on Earth is threatened. So let's learn more about this right now on this episode of Paradigms. Alex Cornelissen, welcome to Paradigms.
Thank you so much for having me. Sorry. Let's do it again.
Well, I'm very interested to talk with you. Your work as one of the principals at the Sea Shepherd organization for so many years. I really want to hear from you about the organization, why it exists, what it does, some of your experiences. I'm wanting to really bring attention to people about the state of the oceans because it's dire. And I think a lot of people don't understand that if the oceans are gone, so is everything else.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how bad the situation really is. But on the other hand, people also don't know how quickly we can improve things in the ocean. Ecosystem is very resilient, so it bounces back very quickly. But we need to provide some level of protection before it's too late.
Yeah. So tell me about your role, and then let's get into what the specifics.
I've been with Sea Shepherd for 21 plus years now, a little bit more than 21 years. I first started as chief cook, but on the ships. But of course, I'm Dutch, so I guess I don't know if you know much about Dutch cuisine, but we're not exactly world renowned for our cooking skills.
I've spent time in the Netherlands, so yes, I know.
Yeah, so
pickled fish in a barrel.
Yes, well, we were vegan, so luckily we didn't have that. But yeah, I quickly moved to the bridge, where I became first officer and then later captain. I spent about 6 years non-stop on the ships, going around the world doing campaigns. And then I became the director of operations in the Galapagos, where I was for another 6 years. We set up a number of programs there to help the national park, to help the environmental police, educational projects. So we had some really great time there. Those projects are still ongoing, some of the projects we still have there. And then since about 10 years, 10 years ago, I set up Sea Shepherd Global in Amsterdam. And Sea Shepherd Global is now the coordinating entity for all the Sea Shepherds around the world.
How many ships are we talking about?
Yeah, so we're split between two organizations right now. We have Sea Shepherd US, who is basically doing the Americas. So they have campaigns in Mexico, they're working on Panama, Peru, and other countries. And then Sea Shepherd Global, which I represent, we have 4 ships, and they're primarily active in Africa and in Europe, in the Mediterranean Sea. And then there's the satellite countries like Germany and Italy and Greece who have their own smaller and medium-sized vessels.
Tell me about the campaigns. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of campaigns going on right now. When I first joined Sea Shepherd, we did about 1-2 missions per year, basically because of lack of funds and we didn't have enough ships. Now, because we have so many ships and so many countries that are interested in working with us, we are basically nonstop moving around the world. The prime campaigns for global would be Africa. We are doing illegal, unreported, unregulated fishing campaigns where we go after poachers that are poaching in the waters of some African country. And by having partnership with the government, we are able to go into their waters using their law enforcement agents who come on board our vessels. And we go and inspect fishing vessels that are fishing in their waters. And we have now 8 partnerships in Africa with 8 different nations. What we do, we basically provide a vessel, a platform, we pay all the cost, and they send their law enforcement agents on board. They then board and inspect the fishing vessels. And over the last 7 years, we, together with our government partners, arrested 86 illegal fishing vessels.
Wow.
So that's quite impressive. And some of the vessels are large, 50, 60 meters, and some of the vessels are engaged in illegal fishing. There is human rights violations on board because the workers are obviously not treated very well. I don't know if you know about the fishing industry. The situation on board of fishing vessels is getting worse and worse because they're trying to save money, and you can't really save money on fuel or on maintenance. So the only thing you can save money on is labor. So a lot of the people on board are from Indonesia and from other Asian countries. Also in Africa, we see a lot of Africans working on board. They've been treated really bad. Their salaries are extremely poor. And if they get injured, then they get infection. Sometimes they are just simply tossed overboard like a broken tool. So yeah, the human rights violations we've seen over the last 7 years are absolutely horrific. And that's something that we never really prepared ourselves for, because we're an anti-poaching organization. But now it seems like we're also one of the leading groups that indicate and detect and take action against human rights violations as well.
That's chilling to hear.
Yeah, it's Ian Urbina. He wrote a lot of articles in the New York Times. He's got the series The Outlaw Ocean. There's a lot of stories that are quite interesting about fishing fleets around the world and the way they are using people on board their vessels. When murders have been committed, people are just simply tossed overboard. It's quite horrific. People are being used as slaves on board a vessel. So yeah, the human rights violations are endless. And then we have the campaigns in Europe. We're working together with the Italian Coast Guard. We have a number of campaigns. I was actually myself on board in July during one of the campaigns that I like most, our octopus campaign in the Tuscan Reserve. This is an area where every year the fishermen fish for octopus. They use these little pots where the octopus go in, they lay their eggs, and then the fishermen take them out and pretty much kill them all, including the eggs. And there's 1 month a year between July 15 and August 15 that the fishery is stopped. And then they can't fish, but obviously they continue because nobody was checking it. So last year we went in and we confiscated 7,600 octopus traps, saved numerous octopuses, which was fantastic. And this year they knew we were coming, so they announced that they would leave the waters before we showed up. So we simply showed up sooner, and we still managed to confiscate about 4,000 traps. And during the month that they were not supposed to be fishing, they didn't fish. So, and our Coast Guard partners told us it was the first time they could remember that there was no traps in the reserve. So in a 2-year time frame, we've seen a big result. I was on board in July for a couple of days. I was lucky enough that we ran into a line, and I was able to help our crew pull in that line, which is extremely hard work. You're basically under the scorching Italian sun. It's really, really hot. So it's a lot of, it's sweaty, it's hard work, but it's so rewarding to actually get an octopus and put it back into the sea. They're incredibly intelligent. You feel them trying to escape through your fingers. It's amazing, really an amazing experience.
And I think most people don't know how, not that intelligence should make us value a living being more, but that octopi are extremely intelligent creatures.
They are very, very intelligent. And you can see that too. They look at you and they kind of sort you out. It's very, very smart. And sometimes when we find an octopus trap where the octopus already laid the eggs inside, then instead of releasing the animal, we just cut them from the line and sink the pot back into the ocean, because that's their home now.
And the eggs can hatch.
Exactly.
And I've seen octopus eggs. They're really cute.
They are really cute. You can actually see the eyes of the octopus in there.
Yes.
It's amazing. Yes. It's really amazing. Yeah. It's one of our coolest campaigns. I'm really happy that I was able to join and help the crew. And of course, I've always had respect for our crew. I've been crew member myself, but in this campaign, it's such hard work, and they do it without complaining. So it's a fantastic campaign.
Were you always a person when you were young who loved aliveness, who loved living things?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've always loved life. I've always been an avid diver, and I was a scuba diver long before I joined Sea Shepherd. I've always loved the ocean, but I never planned to be with the organization for so long. I just joined for a sabbatical, and that opened my eyes and changed my life. I've been down to Antarctica 5 times to fight the Japanese whalers. I've been up on the ice floes in eastern Canada to fight the sealers. And across the Pacific numerous times, pulling in long lines, to the Galapagos a number of times, and living in the Galapagos, of course, one of the most amazing experiences, one of the most beautiful places. So yeah, from the Antarctic to the Galapagos, you do get to see the beauty of the world, but also the destruction that we humans inflict upon it.
I'm talking with Alex Cornelissen, CEO of Sea Shepherd Global and ship captain. And he's just been telling us a bit about Sea Shepherd and some of the campaigns he's been on. He's going to tell us more about the state of the oceans. But first, let's have a little music dedicated to the octopus that we've just been talking about. Here are the Beatles on Paradigms at paradigms.life.
I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade. He'd let us in knows where we've been in his octopus's garden in the shade. I'd ask my friends to come and see an octopus's garden with me. I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade. We would be warm below the storm in our little hideaway beneath the waves, resting our head on the seabed in an octopus's garden near a cave. We would sing and dance around because we know we can't be found. I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden in the shade. Shout and swim about the coral that lies beneath the waves. Oh, what joy for every girl and boy, knowing they're happy and they're safe. We would be so happy, you and me, no one there to tell us what to do. I'd like to be under the sea in an octopus's garden with you. In an octopus's garden with you. In an octopus's garden with you.
That's the Beatles with kind of a silly song, Octopus's Garden, from the Abbey Road album. Now let's get back to my conversation with Alex Cornelissen, Sea Shepherd Global CEO and Sea Captain, and learn a bit more about the state of the oceans. I really would love to know, from your perspective, the state of the oceans, what is happening, and as you said, how easy it would be to turn this around. Give us some overview.
Yeah, the state of the ocean is not good. I mean, we're still seeing a diminishment of life in the ocean that is ongoing, and in fact is intensifying. So the illegal fishing is increasing. We're seeing about 20% of all fisheries are illegal. So that means that 1 in 5 caught fish is caught illegally. And that's what we're focusing on. Of course, we would be very happy if all fishing would stop, at least for in Western countries. And that would give the people in places like Liberia the possibility to still catch fish for their livelihood. What we're seeing, for instance, in those countries is that the industrial fishermen are coming into the 6-mile exclusion zone that is reserved for artisanal fishermen. And they go in at night and they steal the fish, and then local fishermen are unable to catch. That means they are unable to feed their families and their villages. So we really need to make sure that their food security is kept in place. And that means that we have to eat less fish in the Western world. People always think like, oh, it's bad to eat meat, so I'm just going to switch and become a pescatarian. Well, that's actually the worst decision you can make, because that increases the already existing pressure on fisheries. And there's simply not that much fish anymore. If you hear the stories from fishermen in the Mediterranean Sea, they're saying that the fish used to be so abundant that they would just go out in the boat with a net and just scoop it right out of the water. Now you got to go further, you got to fish deeper, and it's just becoming less and less. So we really need to stop the amount of industrialized fishing, at least, and of course the illegal fishing. And that's what we're focusing on, and give the ocean the chance to recover. We have, of course, the 30 by 30, that 30% of the ocean should be protected by 2030. At the moment, we have 3% protected, and only 0.5% is a no-take zone. And of course, that needs to become much, much higher. We need to get 30% protected and 30% no-take zone. And then the ocean can recover, for sure, at least from fishing, because we have other problems facing the ocean. There's global warming, there's acidification, and plastic pollution. So if you add all those problems up, then we should really do something about illegal fishing, because that's something we can control easily.
So just to be depressing for a moment, what happens if we don't?
Well, if we don't, then we're going to see more and more dead zones. If we don't do something about the increased pressure on fisheries and the increased pressure on fish populations, then we're going to see that fish are going to disappear. And it's already happening. A lot of species have disappeared or have plummeted to critical levels, have become critically endangered. Some have gone extinct. And we need to prevent that from continuing. And we need to preserve the species that are still there. If not, then the situation is quite dire. And like tourism is very important. If you look at the Mediterranean Sea, there's a lot of people that are going there for holidays. They go sailing, they go diving. If they would see a lot of sea life, then it would be far more interesting for more tourists to come. So it's an industry, the tourism industry, that is sustainable. It is long-lived. And then there's an industry that is trying to catch what little there is left and destroy the industry, of course, for money, and destroy the industry for tourism. But I guess that goes with whaling, that goes with all sorts of marine life extraction, or even on land by killing the wildlife. You're also damaging tourism. So, if we really want to enjoy wildlife, we got to do more to preserve it.
So, of course, it comes back around to the big questions about humanity, about our numbers, and about our behavior, and about our ethics or lack thereof. You're on the front line addressing one aspect of our global ecological crisis.
Right.
And there are numerous front lines for various aspects of this. And you've been doing this for quite some time. So my guess is you've learned a lot and formed opinions based on what you've seen. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are about humanity. Like, what do we need to do, not just in relation to the oceans, but in general? What can humanity do to create a sustainable relationship with, when I say relationship, it makes it sound like we're separate from nature. We're not, we're part of it. But how do we, people don't even think that. How do we embrace that and be that? What are your recommendations?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, Native Americans, of course, knew that already. We're not on the earth, we're part of the earth. But I got the feeling that people in the world nowadays, they consider themselves to be above the world. We stand above the species, we stand above the animals. But if we want to live in harmony with nature, we got to realize that we're only a very small and very unimportant part of nature. I mean, the earth without humans would do just fine. But if we keep killing the earth, then humans are not going to be doing fine. So we need to be more humble, I think, and understand that we're just a blink in the eye of the history of this planet, and we're doing everything to destroy our own lives on this planet, because the earth is going to recover. I have no doubt of that. We can destroy as much as we want, but the earth will recover. But the question is, are we going to be part of it? I'd like to think so. So, we need to be more aware. We should have less influencers, people that care about their YouTube likes and
Yeah.
Seems like nowadays you ask people, what's your profession? You hear very few people say, I'm going to be a doctor, or I'm going to be a teacher, or I'm going to be a carpenter. Everybody wants to be an influencer. We have enough influencers. We need people that actually do the jobs that need to be done.
Yeah, really. No, it's wild.
So people need to just be aware. People need to think of the ecological footprint, try to minimize it as much as possible. Also think about your diet. There's simply too many people on the planet for us to sustain our current diet. We really need to think about that. There's luckily a lot of developments going on for change to a plant-based lifestyle. There's development. Lab-grown meat is going to hopefully solve some of the problems, but we can't continue the way we're doing now. Something needs to happen.
We've extended our lifespan. And so as the human body gets older, I mean, everybody has some of its own unique nutritional needs. But as we get older, I find I need more protein than I used to. So where am I going to get that? And as you say, we're heading towards 9 billion now. There were less than 2 when I was born. And
crazy, yeah.
It is crazy.
Insane.
But you said something really interesting. You said the earth would do just fine if the humans were gone. The earth, the planet, would continue to be. But this biosphere, with its amazing interconnectedness of life forms, this web of life that is so complex that everything is part of, we are not a keystone species, as you say. If we disappeared, that would all work. If the birds all disappeared, that would not work. If the fish disappeared, Correct. It would not work. If the bees disappeared. So it's really time for us to kind of address our hubris and become humble and realize that we're not necessary.
Exactly, that's it. We are not necessary. If the humans would disappear, the Earth would do just fine. It would be way better actually for the planet, and that's what we need to understand. We shouldn't be arrogant to think that we are the ruler of the planet. We're just a species that has taken control of the planet basically, and is killing all other life forms.
We'll be back with more of my conversation with Alex Cornelissen, CEO and ship captain with Sea Shepherd Global. But first, some more music. Here's Joan Zen, Every Stream Leads to the Ocean.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. We're gonna make it all the way. Some of you may go, but I'm willing to stay. No reason to stop till we're all free, unstuck and in the middle is the place to be. Every stream leads to the ocean. All my flowers reaching for the same sky. Every view is upon the horizon. Though it's hard to see, I still try. They talk for hours, I stare for days. As dawn is breaking, assume the gaze. The master's ship cuts through the haze. One sea to sail, no separate waves. Every stream leads to the ocean. All my flowers reaching for the same sky. Every view is upon the horizon. Though it's hard to see, I still try. Now I'm naked, swimming free, aware of you, reflecting me. The swiftest cars, a simple way, revealing nature. Lesson of the day. Ooh, every stream leads to the ocean. All the flowers reaching for the same sky. Every view is upon the horizon. Though it's hard to see, I still try. Every stream leads to the ocean. All the flowers reaching for the same sky. Is upon the horizon. Though it's hard to see, I still try.
From their album This Is the Fortunate Life, that's Joan Zen with Every Stream Leads to the Ocean. And now let's get back to my conversation with Alex Cornelissen from Sea Shepherd Global. So then we have to address, and I won't get too specific here, some dominant ideologies that say that humans should be the dominant force over all life on Earth. And that is a recipe for destruction.
Well, those same theories also say that we're the custodians of all life on the planet. And I don't think we're acting as the custodians of the planet.
We're doing a piss poor job of it.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you worded it like that. I didn't want to do that. But absolutely. No, it's true. I mean, if we are the dominant species, then we should act as such and make sure that the other species are well taken care of. I don't believe that we're the dominant species, but if people believe that, then they should act more as the custodians of the other species and act more responsible towards the other species. But we're certainly not doing that. It seems like we're only taking the benefits, and we're not taking the necessary tasks to go with those benefits.
Yeah. Now, in your work with Sea Shepherd and on campaigns, you're on ships with lots of people, and so you get to experience. I mean, there's that sort of closed social system and what's happening, but you get to watch people, especially when they come for the first time, have these aha moments and learn amazing things and realize things and mature in front of your very eyes as they get it. It's not even really a question. I'm just thinking that must be an incredible thing to get to see.
It's really great to meet people, like-minded people with the same mindset, who come to a vessel often with no experience at sea. And actually not only see them experience life at sea and the campaigns we do, but also learn from their form of activism. Because a lot of people are activists, and they are, for instance, involved in hunt sabotages or in anti-agriculture campaigns against factory farming or mink farms. So just learning from each other is also very interesting. And of course, to see people grow in their position. We always try to get people to we try to get people to grow on the ship, because we're looking for qualified, say, captain, chief engineer on a vessel, and it's very difficult to find those people in the normal commercial world, because first of all, we're not paying nearly as much as the commercial world pays. There is no smoking on board, no alcohol, and we only serve vegan food. So you can imagine that the group of people we draw from is quite select. So we much rather have people from who are there for the right reasons, often activists, who then are interested in following those courses and getting those training certificates. And so we make an agreement. We pay for their courses, and in return, they commit to staying with the organization for a number of years. And that way we get the qualified people, rise from the ranks. They fully understand how the organization works and far more qualified. It's a mix. Obviously, we have some people for the industry as well who got tired with the commercial world and come to us. But it's a really interesting mix that we have, and I really like that.
So people can volunteer and serve on these vessels.
Yes, and it's a lot easier than 20 years ago, because we had one ship and we did 2 missions. Now we have 4 ships, and then a ship in Germany, in Italy, in Greece. And they're campaigning year round. But we still require people to have some skills. First thing I always ask, do you get seasick? If you get seasick, don't apply.
Yeah.
Because that's not what you want to do. But, we also have campaigns on land. For instance, in Italy, we do beach patrols where the turtles come and lay their eggs. As soon as we find a nest, our volunteers put a fence around it, make sure they don't get trampled, and then watch them 24/7 until the hatchlings come out, and then we guide them to the ocean. So there's a lot of things you can do with Sea Shepherd. We have net recovery that require experienced divers. They go down to wrecks. They take the nets from the bottom, and then, we take the nets up. We create awareness about abandoned fishing gear, and at the same time, we're trying to turn these nets into products that we can then sell to help the mission further.
It sounds not only like what you're doing is really important, valuable, good work. It sounds like a ton of fun. I mean, hard work, but really enjoyable.
It is. I mean, obviously, when you're in my position, you also get to do a lot of meetings, which is not a lot of fun, but yeah. I try to escape to the ship as much as I can. And when I do, I get reminded of why I joined the organization. And when I see a video or a picture of one of our crew members saving wildlife, it reminds me of my first day on board. I joined in the Galapagos, and the first morning we encountered an illegal longline. And within minutes, I was in the water and I freed a turtle from that longline. And that feeling, I've been carrying that with me for 21 years. And when I freed the octopus in the Toscan Reserve in July this year, I felt that same feeling. And I see that in the eyes of our volunteers when they free wildlife. That is why you do it. Saving lives with your own hands. That's something that the organization gives the opportunity for. And that's really great.
In the next part of my conversation with Alex Cornelissen, we'll be talking about whales. But here's some more music. This one's from Painted Caves. It's called The Ocean. This is Paradigms at paradigms.life.
satellite begins to stray. It's on its own. It's on its way. The satellite begins to stray.
Ocean from Painted Caves. Love that. All right, here's the next part of my conversation with Sea Shepherd Global CEO and ship captain Alex Cornelissen to tell us a bit about whales. I'm curious about your experience with the whalers.
Yeah, the whaling campaign in the Antarctic, we went down 10 times. I only went down 5 times, which is more than enough because the Southern Ocean storms are quite scary, and the waves can be up to 12, 14 meters, which is about 30, 40 feet, which is insanely high. It's hard, you get to experience some really rough seas. The campaigns are quite intense, but at the same time, you go down to the Antarctic and you see whales and penguins and seals, and that's just absolutely amazing. Not many people get a chance to go down there. So these campaigns we did for a long time. Then Australia called Japan before the International Court of Justice in The Hague, basically saying that their whaling was not scientific, as Japan claimed, but commercial in nature. Australia won the case, and then Japan went down one more time with a revised program, but eventually they stopped killing whales. So it's over. We set out to stop the killing of whales in the Antarctic, and we did. They are no longer doing it. So it's a great victory.
Awesome. Wow.
That's a great victory. And we saved 6,000 whales over the years, but I guess, 6,000 whales is a fantastic result, but when you look at illegal fishing or fishing in general, the bycatch of cetaceans, so dolphins and whales worldwide in fishing industry is 300,000 every single year, bycatch. So that's why it's so important for us to address bycatch and illegal fishing, because, we can save a lot of whales and dolphins that way. And we've seen it on the purse seiners that we encounter in Gabon. You see that whales get caught up in the net, dolphins are caught, rays are caught, an enormous amount of sharks are being caught, and that's just something that you will never hear about. All you hear is this tuna vessel of this tuna is dolphin safe, which basically means less dolphins are being killed, not no dolphins, but less than the cutoff point. But nobody talks about the sharks and the rays or the turtles that are being killed every time. Now, I'd like to give you one example of a vessel that we caught in Liberia some 4 years ago. This was a vessel, the Bico 2, a Spanish-owned vessel, had a license to fish for tuna in Liberian waters using long lines. So when you see the vessel on radar or on AIS, then you think, it's a licensed vessel, it's right to be here, no problem. Upon inspection of the vessel, it turned out that they were in fact not fishing for tuna, but for sharks, and they were not using long lines, but illegal deep-sea gill nets. On board the vessel was a hidden shark liver oil factory. Now, shark liver oil is used for health supplements and cosmetics, and you know what. This vessel, based on the number of shark liver oil that they would offload after each fishing trip, which was about 30, 40 tons of shark liver oil, and yeah, it's an enormous amount of shark that needs to be killed for that amount of oil. We calculated that this vessel alone was killing 500,000 sharks every single year, which is an insane amount. Now, this vessel has been in port for more than 4 years. So effectively, this one arrest has saved the lives of more than 2 million sharks and counting.
That is crazy. And again, I think people don't realize these beings are intelligent beings. People who are, okay, everyone's got, what they do to live, sharks are predators, blah, blah. But I have a friend who goes to Thailand and swims with the sharks. And
I've swum with sharks.
And
sharks
goes every year. The same ones come to him. He has a relationship.
Yes.
All these beings. I'm living in the Caribbean right now, and a ray swims right by us and touches us. These beings are actually, they have their very own intelligence. They have their own lives, and many of them are curious and interested to relate with us in a non-lethal way if we're willing.
And you're absolutely right. People need to go into the water and see with their own eyes, how beautiful these creatures are. I think the problem with sharks is they've been vilified. And of course, movies like Jaws and Sharknado 1 to 525. Stupid movies that just keep being made that sharks are monsters and they're going to eat you. On average, worldwide, I think it's 7 people die from accidental shark encounters, which is far less than being struck by lightning or being hit by a golf ball on a golf course. It's absolutely nothing. But sharks are still considered as the monsters, and it couldn't be further from the truth. To me, sharks are the most amazing creatures. They've been practically unchanged for 400 million years. They've been around longer than the dinosaurs, and they've been practically unchanged because they're perfect. They're the perfect predator to keep the ocean healthy. I got nothing but respect for sharks. They're amazing creatures. But, when you go into the ocean, you have to be respectful. It's like going into Africa. You walk into an area where there's lions. You don't slap them on the head.
I've studied permaculture, and the first permaculture principle is when you go to a new place, you do nothing but observe, protracted observation.
Right.
You don't
Right.
go in to change things and I'm going to do this. You go in and you observe for a long time, maybe years, so that you learn the place and then you learn what's actually happening and how can I fit into this in a way that
Yes.
benefits me and doesn't destroy this.
Yeah, no, that's true. But another thing is that people objectify the ocean, and the creatures in it. And it's also to not have to think about the way if you look at the way that fishing boats are treating the fish, this would never be allowed on land. I mean, first of all, they're being caught in a net, they're being squashed to death, they suffocate. It's the most horrific death. But we don't talk about sea. It's called seafood. We don't even call it sea life. We're talking about sea life. There are animals and other creatures that are living in it. But it's all objectified. We talk about harvest like it's corn. We talk about it in metric tons instead of individual animals. We talk about stock instead of population. So it's all to objectify the creatures in the ocean. And that's another, realization that people need to make, that we're talking about living creatures, individual creatures. And if we did the same to the animals on land, like we did to our animals in the sea, nobody would accept that. Everybody would be up in arms against it and protest against it. But unfortunately, there's not that many organizations out there that show people what's happening at sea. And that's something that we're trying to do. We're trying to show people what is really happening at sea, so people realize and hopefully make a decision to really treat the creatures better in the ocean.
I mean, part of it is the scale at which we now exist lends itself to that kind of objectification. I grew up in Vermont. People hunt. You have people who come and hunt for trophies, which I think is disgusting. And you have people who hunt for food, and that is their food. I knew one family who they would take, I think there were 3 brothers, and they would each take 1 deer a year in the fall. But in the spring, they would go out and they would find the one and they would learn everything about it and they would follow it all spring and summer and learn and honor its life. And when they took it to feed their family. This was our meat for the year, and yes. There is a brutality to human life. There's no question that we are capable of brutality with each other, and that the way we meet our nutritional needs is often involving brutality. It doesn't have to be. Vegetarianism, veganism are very real options for a lot of people. Some people nutritionally, maybe not. But it seems like as a group, we haven't come together around accepting our responsibility for our role.
No, I think when you look at, you mentioned hunting, subsistence hunting is pretty much like subsistence fishing. If people are, indeed just that's all they have. I'm a vegan, been for 20 years, so I'm not going to advocate eating animals, but I do understand it better than people that go in a supermarket and just buy meat and don't even know what they're buying and don't want to see the animals being killed, but still eat them. I think that's being hypocrite.
We'll be back with the final part of my conversation with Alex Cornelissen, but first let's hear a little bit of whale song. This is brought to us by Paul Winter. From his album Anthems, Paul Winter brings us Solo Whale. These are the songs of these amazing creatures. All right, here's the final part of my conversation with Alex Cornelissen. Sea Shepherd, what's happening next? What's a way for people to plug in?
Yeah, so we had a campaign also linked to the whales. We went to the Antarctica again, January, February this year, to target and document the krill fleet. There's a fleet of about 12 to 14 krill fishing vessels. They're massive in size. Each vessel is the size of about 2 Olympic swimming pools. And they are basically sucking the ocean dry of krill. And we witnessed them fishing inside an area where the whales were feeding. There were like dozens of whales popping up while the krill vessel was actually steering directly at the whales, because they knew where there's whales, there's krill. Chin-strap penguins swimming around. They were competing with the animals for the krill. And that krill is basically being ground up. It is used for health supplements, omega-3 supplements. That there's a plant-based and algae-based alternative for it, which is just as fine. Actually, it's better because it's the source of what krill eat. So it actually takes it right back to the source. It's being used there's a growing market in China now for dog and pet food using krill-enhanced protein. And they're using it in the salmon farms to turn the farmed salmon pink. So yeah, those are 3 reasons that are absolutely unnecessary. But unfortunately, they are asking for an increase in the krill catch quotas because they're saying it's sustainable. They got MSC label. What we've seen is far from sustainable. They're fishing right into the area where the whales are feeding. And unfortunately, because of global warming, you see that there's less and less sea ice. That means less phytoplankton. That means less krill. And the whales are actually they're actually starving to death. The whales are actually skinnier than before, where pregnancy is lower than before. So we got to stop this industry. And that's a campaign we did in January. There's a big story coming out in Associated Press in around the 14th of October. And we're really hoping to get the people behind this to actually target the market and stop eating krill products, krill enhanced omega-3. There's plenty of alternatives out there that people should choose. We just want to make sure that we can get people to kill the market, basically. If the market is gone, then the krill fishing will disappear and the whales. And that's the new threat to the whales. We faced off the Japanese. This threat is far bigger.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard about this, so thank you.
The same for us. We obviously investigated it, but we didn't know how bad it was until we saw it with our own eyes. And it's bad. So this year, we're planning to go down again, actually, beginning of next year, January. We're going down again. We're taking media teams to document again and just keep the pressure on the fleet and hopefully get them out of the area because that's what's needed.
Do you encounter any opposition from governments, industry?
Yeah, with our new model, working with governments, which we've basically been doing. We started doing it in the Galapagos in 1999, but in Africa, we've been doing it for 7 years now. The good thing about that is that we don't have opposition from the governments because we work with the governments. They come on our ship. There's Coast Guard, Navy, park rangers, fishery inspectors. So all the authorities come on board our vessel and we take them into their waters and they do the inspection. So the only opposition we find is with the fishing vessels, not with the crew, the Indonesian crew, the low-paid workers. They don't even know that they're fishing illegally, but it's the officers who are often from the People's Republic of China or from Spain or other European countries, depending on the fishery. And we do get some pushback from them, but it's not the Sea Shepherd crew that gets that pushback. It's the Coast Guard goes on board first. They secure the vessel, and there's been occasions where they've been attacked by a fisherman with a knife. But the rangers carry weapons, so that was quickly resolved, and he was arrested. So I think the biggest threat we're facing, we're in the Gulf of Guinea. There's a high level of piracy there, so that's a big risk. Our ship has been attacked by pirates once, so we always have to be on the alert for piracy.
It sounds like an amazing organization doing something so important and really, it's nitty-gritty. This is like people getting right down in there. This isn't some ideological struggle. This is real stuff.
Well, this is hard work, yeah, and it's getting more and more diverse. We're having a lot more new campaigns, and just recently this year in Italy, we had some of our Italian staff actually follow a course, and they're now official law enforcement. They actually have a badge. They can actually go and inspect fishing vessels, and if they're in violation, they can get the Coast Guard to arrest them. So we've taken it to the next level. We ourselves in Italy, we can actually take action against illegal fishing. And that's just something that I, 21 years ago, never even thought was possible. So you see the world is changing. There's more and more need for organizations like Sea Shepherd. We're the only ones doing it. So it's a great feeling.
Well, Alex, thank you for talking with me about all of this. I've learned some stuff, and I'm really glad to be able to share with listeners, the truly dire straits the ocean is in right now, completely because of human activity, and that we are responsible to turn this around.
Well, we have the ability to turn it around. Humans can and have evolved since the small time we've been around. So, we owe it to the planet. We owe it to the animals to evolve out of the current situation and make it better if we want to stay on the planet. I certainly do. So I'm going to do whatever I can to make that happen.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Alex Cornelissen, thank you so much for talking with me. I learned a lot. Really enjoyed our conversation. Great to learn about Sea Shepherd Global and the work that the organization is doing right now to protect the oceans, which need protection. To learn more, you can go to seashepherdglobal.org. Who knows, you might want to volunteer and go out on a ship and rescue some sea life. So Alex, thank you for talking with me and for the work you're doing. And folks, if you'd like to learn more about the krill situation, go to the Paradigms website, paradigms.life, and there is a link to the AP article that Alex was talking about that explains exactly what's going on with krill in the oceans and krill harvesting and how it is not a good thing. We'll be back next week with another show about the oceans. My guest will be Heather Luna Spence, who is a marine biologist and a musician. And she'll be talking about a whole other aspect of how sea life needs to be protected and sharing some of the music she's made recording underwater sea life sounds. Very cool stuff. I'm going to leave you with some music to close out the show. As always, this is Tobias the Owl with his song Open Sea. And let's let the word for the week be peace. P-E-A-C-E. Let us speak it. Let us invoke it. Let us imagine it. Peace on earth. If we all want it, we can bring it about. What if all humans put down their weapons and just took a few minutes to breathe and contemplate peace? That would change the world. Peace. All right, Baruch signing off for this episode of Paradigms. We'll be back next time with more inspiring people. Until then, peace and be well.
Time doesn't pass, but the truth never lies. It just breaks like a wave on the open sea. So I spend my days over songs under haze, far, far away on the open sea. I will take you in my arms when I come back from the cold. I will take you in my arms, I will never let you go. Oh, I'll never know if I'll find a home in a world mostly drowned by the open sea. Oh, I'd like to stay, oh, but I know my place far, far away on the open sea. I will take you in my arms when I come back from the cold. I will take you in my arms, I will never let you go. I will take you in my arms, I will leave you out of reach. When the winter finally ends, I will leave you for the sea. Don't let me think that I got
You've been listening to Paradigms at paradigms.life.